What's up, Gould Miners? Welcome back. Today, I was reflecting on a question that I've been getting a lot from friends, family, investors, anyone that's interested in what I'm doing in the hotel space. And one of the questions that I get is regarding the brands, franchises, specifically, like, for example, Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, IHG, Choice, Best Western, need I go on? These are all brands or franchises. And that's actually one of the things that a lot of people do not understand is the fact that Marriott and Hilton and all of these brands don't own the majority of their hotels. These are all franchise models. And so what they do is they inject their operating system, they inject their reservation system, and they inject their brand standards into these hotels. And then owners like myself, like my partners, and like all hoteliers out there assume the operation in the sense that they're the ones that own it, right? But they are leveraging the franchise's operating system and brand and everything that comes with that. And one of the questions that I get often is which brand is the best? And there are many ways to answer that. And I think the cop-out answer is it depends. And even though that might not be a satisfactory answer, it's one that I wanted to explore with all of you today. When you look at the chart, right, you simply look at who has the strongest reservation system. I think it'd be hard to argue against the fact that Marriott is widely considered at this point in time, and this is like March of 2024, to have the best reservation system out there. And of course, things can change. And that really equates to what does the brand loyalty look like across the brands and who has the strongest brand loyalty program. And Bonvoy right now is crushing it. They absolutely are crushing it. And so when you look at simply like, hey, which brand has the best brand loyalty and which brand can deliver on the promise of getting the most heads in beds, so to speak, right? That's the industry term. That would be the best brand. But it goes a lot deeper than that because it's not just who can get the most heads in beds. For example, if we're going into a market and we're buying a hotel that's unencumbered, meaning that there's no brand on that property right now, we have our choice. We have our pick of the litter. Natural tendency would be, hey, let's go to Marriott, which could very well be the case. And in a lot of cases, that is the case. There are also situations in which, for example, you go to a market and that hotel that you're buying, there are 5 Marriotts within a mile radius, like no Hilton properties. That would be an exaggerated version, like that would be very unlikely, but like, let's just say that were the case, right? And so then we have to look at a couple of things. Number one, what's the competition look like? Which brands are they associated with, right? Because if you've got a bunch of competition that's all pulling from the same reservation system, if you're gonna go in there, you're just diluting yourself, right? Versus another reservation system, you might be the only player. And so even though the brand loyalty might not be as high, you will get an unfair share of that brand loyalty, the members of that brand, right? Or the loyal members of that brand. And so there are other things to consider outside of that. Another thing to consider would be what does this market, right? What do the consumers, what do the travelers, what do the guests expect when they go to this area, right? Is this an area where you could do a boutique-y kind of upscale feeling type of hotel? Or is this like a corporate kind of hotel, right? So there are so many, or an area where there's more business travel, right? So if you're going to be in an area where there's more business travelers, you might go to a completely different brand than if you are getting more, say, upscale travel business. And so you really have to assess the market and do a comprehensive analysis of which brand is going to fit best in this market, given the competition that exists already, the inventory that exists already, and given the type of guests that we expect them to come to this hotel. And with those three things, we can really start to make some decisions on which brand to associate with. And so it's really hard when people ask like, hey, which one is the best one? Now, I will say that in terms of repositioning, right? And so this is something to consider, that when we are repositioning an asset, so if we're bringing it from one flag to another, there are definitely tiers. And so if you're a passive investor into hotel deals, I'd be very wary of hotels that are going from a top tier brand, Marriott, Hilton, we'll throw IHG and Hyatt in there, even though I wouldn't necessarily call them like the top. And then they're moving it down a tier, right? To a Choice or a Wyndham or something else. And by the way, like I have friends at all those brands. Like I'm not like talking down to any of them. I'm just saying it how it is, right? And so when you look at tiers of brands, when you're repositioning an asset, you're usually trying to tier up. You're repositioning up or within the same tier, not repositioning down. And so if you are a passive investor and you're looking at a deal, I would be very cautious of those. And if that is happening, there better be a really good story. Possibility of like key money. The thing is, and I'll end with this, is I've seen a lot of deals where the lower tier brands, they want the hotel so bad, so they'll throw money at the owner. They'll throw money at the sponsors, key money is what they call it, to renovate the hotel and bring it up to that brand standards for what they're trying to reposition it to. But then the hotel performs worse after it reopens as the new brand than it did before. I just saw this recent example. I'm not gonna say brand names I'll say brand names, who cares? It was a Holiday Inn Express. They renovated the property and made it I wanna say Country Inn. I don't even know, dude, but it was a Wyndham product. And it was IHG. They repositioned it to a Wyndham. They got tons of key money from the brand. They got lots of money from the brand to reposition the asset, but then when it reopened, the RevPAR penetration, which means the revenue per available room penetration index, fell significantly, and the hotel never performed as well as it did before the remodel. So even though the hotel was remodeled, it was newer, it was nicer, the pictures looked better, because the reservation system was that much weaker, it ended up being an inferior investment. And so just because you're getting a lot of money from the brand and just because you're getting a lot of incentives from the brand doesn't necessarily make it a good buy and doesn't really make it a great investment either. So just some food for thought. This is Danny Gould, everyone, and I hope you found this little Gould nugget useful.